Hello, everyone, and welcome to the match review with myself and Taff. All ending, we're here to talk about Sunderland's 1-0 defeat against Liverpool in the Premier League, which ends our magnificent record at home of being the only undefeated Premier League team at home in the Premier League, which I suppose for the 11th of February is pretty good going. But yeah, Taff, how are you feeling after that game this evening?
I feel pretty down, to be honest. I feel a bit, and I shouldn't. I think when I reflect upon it, I'll probably realise that we lost by 1 goal to the champions, and in that sense, it's pretty good. But I can't help it. I feel down. I feel a bit fed up. Um, we are just so very defensive all the time, and we make it hard for ourselves with such little creations and few chances. But I shouldn't feel like that. We've done a remarkable job, but I can't help it. Right, that's just how I feel at the minute.
Yeah, well, I think the thing with these match reviews after the game,
Mm,
it's raw post game. Like the game finished like an hour ago. We come on
yeah.
here, you can be critical. I mean, I think ultimately what I would say as we do analyze this game is that we've done magnificently this season. We are sat with
Yeah.
36 points in February. Nobody could have dreamt that and all those things. Yeah, we will go in tonight and maybe criticize some decisions from the manager and maybe some of the players. But I think ultimately the overarching thing that I want people to realize is even when we are being slightly critical, it's coming from a place of love, and we know that this team's done magnificent things this
Oh,
season.
it is. I mean, I shouldn't feel like this because we lost 1-0 to the champions, and we've just been promoted. So, yeah, bit of luck. Maybe we squeak a draw out of that game. But yeah, I don't feel that result is ever really in doubt. I think Liverpool are winning that game almost all the time, and
Yeah,
that's disappointing. That's what
yeah.
I feel.
Um, we were talking about this on the drive home, but the lack of Xhaka, how much is, and we can see here John Paul said the same, crying out for Xhaka. I feel like we are missing him a lot, and I think one of the things I've noticed over the last few weeks is that I think no Xhaka makes Noah Siddiqui a far weaker player as well. I feel like his influence has waned quite a bit since Xhaka has been out of the team, and we are desperate to see him back into the side, aren't we? Which hopefully will be for the Fulham game next weekend.
Yeah, I have not checked out if the stats back it up, but I just feel as though Siddiqui was a bit off it given his usual standards tonight. I felt that's what I felt like, and I know he got injured. Let's hope it's not too serious because he got a tweak on his ankle against Arsenal, and then he looked in pain at the end there as well. But I do, I do think even before that injury, he looked tired because he was not goal side of attackers and he wasn't in his usual tight position. I just thought he was a bit off it tonight, and I don't know if it's just all been quite a lot for him. But Xhaka definitely, the lad's only 20. He benefits from having Xhaka right next to him, keeping everything in order. He's done a marvellous job, but yeah, a bit off the pace tonight, I thought. You've muted yourself.
I have. There we go. I just so sick of the sound of my own voice. Yeah, I think with the way I look at the team selection, I think to be honest, I want to almost skip talking about the team selection because I wasn't surprised by the team selection. For me,
No.
I got a little bit exasperated by the substitutions and like Isidore coming on in the 91st minute. Why is that happening in the 91st minute? Why is that coming on earlier? And I just felt maybe when we go 1-0 down, the Trey Hume being on the right side, and look, I think Trey Hume did okay. I thought, to be honest, I didn't think he had a great game, but I thought he did okay. When we're losing 1-0, is that not like something you should just change? Is that not
Yeah.
logical? I don't get why you wait until, well, he stays on the pitch the whole game, doesn't he? He doesn't come off. So,
I felt that. I felt that as well. I just thought, why aren't you changing this at 70 minutes? Why aren't you doing it earlier? Because I just thought you're losing. You've got to try and win. It doesn't matter if you lose 2-0. You've lost. But I guess, if you're only 1 goal behind, then you're still in it and you can nick it. And I guess there's that, reduces, safety first. Still thinking about goal difference. We're -3 now. If you have a 0 goal difference, you're probably somewhere 8 to 12. That would be remarkable. So I still think it's a bit sort of dominated by that idea, and maybe that it's different when you're the manager. With the fans, we want to see us win.
You might have cut out for a brief while. Sorry.
It's just very different when you're the manager. When you're the manager, you're thinking about safety first. That's what he does. You're thinking about goal difference and about not going on a run of poor games. And I think we're in a run of poor games, I have to say, or poor results. But as a fan, we think a bit differently, don't we? We want to try a bit more. We want to attack a bit more. So maybe there's a difference of expectation there.
I think the thing for me that is a little bit of the saving grace from this little run we're on. So I think last 5 Premier League games, what have we done? We've lost against Brentford, West Ham. We've beaten Palace. We've beaten Burnley. Oh, we've lost against Arsenal. We've lost against Liverpool. So that's our 6 games, I think. But we have picked up a point per game. We did pick up 2 wins in that run. And also, we've played 2 of our hardest games of the season. I know Liverpool haven't necessarily been brilliant, but if we're going to come around to this and talk about how Sunderland played, we also need to talk about how good Liverpool were, because I thought from the first 15 minutes you could tell that they were on it tonight. And I went downstairs very briefly to go to the loo, not to have a half-time pint 15 minutes before half-time. But I heard some of the analysis half-time that they were talking on TNT, and they were basically saying that it's one of the best performances I've seen Liverpool play. And I felt that in the game. I thought Liverpool were outstanding. And I think if you're playing against top level team and they play well, it's always going to be difficult. Yes, we were maybe too passive in the first half. Yes, I think our press was off, the intensity wasn't quite there, but I do think Liverpool also played very well, which has to be a factor when we analyse our performance.
Yeah, they did play well, and Wirtz was really on form tonight. But part of the reason they play well is because we let them. After the first sort of 5 or 6 minutes, we let them play well. They already are the team that topped the division for percentage of the ball and possession, like 60%, and we let them have over 70%. And like I said in the preview, I think we just make it easy for them. When we play Hume in that role, it's just easy for them because it's all they got to worry about is our left wing, and a bit of Xhaka missing. They don't have to worry about anything else. Long balls to Bromley and squeaking up the left wing. That is the only thing they've got to manage, and it just makes it easier for them. There's little threat on the right, which is probably why Mukiele gets the ball quite a bit because. But imagine if you had somebody else up there. I just think we made it a bit easier as well because we're so passive in the first half of games, and I think that with look at the difference in the first sort of 15, 20 minutes of the second half when we came out and we were behind and we had to have a goal. We were much better then, and you just think, well, why are we so passive in the first half of games? And we set up with a passive selection as well. It's getting a bit wearing, but that's just because I want us to win every game, and it's not reasonable. And that was the champions.
Yeah. So I think you're more down on this than what I am, but I think that, to be honest, the feeling that I had in the stadium was that people genuinely thought we could win the game today, and I felt like people were very disappointed that we didn't maybe show our best selves. But I mean, I heard like there was a few boos at full time, and I don't know. I find that maybe we've been a little bit like spoilt a little bit, and people are getting very expectant because we've had such a good season that they want to see more because we know what this team can provide, and that's why I'm frustrated. I know we are better than what we showed tonight, but I can't really in good faith come on here and really slag. Well, not slag. I'm not saying you're slagging the team up, but you know what I mean. I can't come on here and sort of slate the team because I appreciate that it's a big game. We've just played Arsenal away. We played Liverpool. 2 of the hardest games we're going to play in the season, back to back, within 4 days. I kind of want to give the team a bit of slack, but I do also agree that I don't think we were set up right. We were very, very passive, and it's very, very frustrating. The Trey Hume thing on the right wing is frustrating as well. There are things that are frustrating me, but I don't want to go in too heavy on those things right now.
No, and I think it is important to remember who we've just played. They are excellent, and I think that John Dodd says makes another point about the cost of the team in comparison to ours, and Florian Wirtz was excellent. We don't have somebody like that in our team, but we do have Nelson Angulo. He played pretty well. It was nice to see him get a start, and he looked our biggest threat. But frankly, the way we set up and set out, he looked our only threat. And I just think, even when we're chasing the game late in the second half, I think, I can't remember who it is, Talby puts in a hopeless long cross that goes straight out. But there are lots of examples of that, and there's nobody in the box because we're just not set up that way.
Do you know what? There was times towards the end of the game where I was getting so annoyed that this is when we're chasing the game. Brobby was the only man in the middle of the box. It was frustrating. Like, just push, because we've seen Diarra do this recently, and he wasn't doing that tonight. Diarra wasn't doing the things we've seen in the last few games where he was getting close to Brobby. We didn't see any of that. I thought Lefay had not much say in the game. I thought he really struggled, and sometimes Regis can be very proactive in terms of substitutions on 45 minutes to change things, and we've seen him do it before. Today, not proactive enough. Like, why we're waiting until the point we did to make subs was baffling. And
well, I think he's just super cautious. He made the fewest subs in the Championship last season. I think that's in his nature. You say he makes subs at 45 minutes, but he did that at West Brom, but we're 3-0 down. At that point, it really doesn't matter. I think if you're only 1-0 down, he thinks we're still in the game. All it takes is to nick something, get lucky, like Chelsea, or like the last minute at Liverpool, at Anfield. And I think that's what we think. If you really go for it and you can see the second goal, well, then there's no coming back from that. So I think it's just his cautious nature. But also, the thing I said about Arsenal that I thought was really, really obvious is the power they had in the midfield. And I just think if you look at Gravenberch and McAllister, and you compare that to Siddiqui and Lefay, I mean, I think they're always controlling the ball a bit better there. And I agree. I would have played Diarra over on the other side next to Angulo, because I think a triangle of Diarra, Angulo, and Brobby dropping to hold the ball up, I think those three are probably the most powerful component of the team we could put together. And that was against their, Endo at right back, and that's what I would have done. So it was a bit disappointing to see, Brobby and Angulo play, but Habib Diarra over on the right-hand side, where he doesn't even have a right winger outside him to play with. So there were bits that were a bit frustrating about the way we set up, a bit rigid,
Yeah.
Diarra,
I would agree, and I think if the manager had a do-over on it, he'd probably change things. I mean, I personally don't think that the midfield three that he set up of Diarra, Siddiqui, and Lefay, I don't think it's really worked. I know it worked against Burnley, but Christ, we might have worked against Burnley. They were that bad that night. So I also think that we need to start looking, why isn't Geertruida playing? Why isn't he slotting in? Because if we slotted him in there and, took Hume out of right wing and put like Lefay on the right wing to keep him in the team because you want to keep him in there, would that not be better? Would that not make more sense? And then you've got I think we lack solidity in the midfield, and I think Geertruida would have made a massive difference. Here, that's athleticism and physicality, and essentially having a player who's a defender but can play in midfield. That is defensive for Regis. It gives them that protection, and it means that you wouldn't have to shoehorn. I mean, it's nothing against Trey Hume, because I love Trey Hume and he's a great player, but putting him on the right wing it's infuriating, to be honest. At times you watch it and you're like, I just want to see something logical out there. It's not logical.
It just means that there's, it's kind of halves our focus of play and our chances. He always looks like there's, something's going to happen and he gets into positions, but his actual output in terms of assists and goals isn't nowhere near good enough to play there. And you could wonder, look, do we have anything better? Talby, doesn't really come on and change that game, does he? He's physically and defensively weak. in comparison to Hume. So, and how many balls can he put in? Is he really better than Hume? So, I mean, I have some sympathy with playing Hume there, but I do think it just nullifies us down the right-hand side. There's Mukiele who can swing a crossing, but given we barely get people into the box to meet it, it's not that much of a threat. So it just means that there's less for the opposition to manage. They have to be fewer places. They get less stretch. It's just easier for them to deal with us. And I don't get the Hertrauder thing either. The lad's going to the World Cup playing as an international right back for Holland. He'll play next to Van Dijk, but he's not good enough to play in our team. And I don't get it. I mean, he has physicality that would be better than Siddiqui and Lafay in the midfield. And if we're talking about being overrun and having our midfields dominated by bigger, more physical players, and you don't have Xhaka, then it seems like Hertrauder in that midfield is a better choice. And then you wonder about, well, where Lafay goes. And I think you make a very reasonable point. Lafay out on the right wing would bring more creativity to us. And he's not shy of tracking back and running and defending. So I think we're getting to the point with the number of victories. We've got 2 wins in the last 10. I know we got some draws there, but they're starting to recede into the sunset. I think we're surely getting to the point where maintaining this selection and this system has to come into question, and you have to start trying other things.
Yeah. I mean, I also think we're putting a square peg into a round hole with Trey Hume right now. And I almost find it frustrating that we're actually it sounds like we're blaming Trey Hume, but I actually think it's the fact that he's been put in a position. And one thing I worry about him is this experiment going to hurt him long term, because he's changed his position, he's changed where he is. I mean, there was times tonight where the break falls to Trey Hume, that you're on the counter, and he's not the sort of player, he's not the guy you want to be on the break with, but because you're putting him in that position on the right side, it's always going to be so difficult for us to transition with him, because he's not built to transition with it. And I find it frustrating that I feel like what's happening is we as fans, and we talk about here, we're whinging about Trey Hume, but it's actually the deployment we're whinging about. And I don't get how you could look at our midfield tonight, look at Trey Hume on the right wing, and not think that playing Hertrauder in the middle and putting Enzo Lafay on the wing and having Trey Hume either play, I don't know how you would do it. Do you take Alderete out and put Mukiele at centre back, put Hume at right back, or just take Hume out temporarily, as we did for the Derby? Hume has missed games this season because he's been dropped for the system. So it's something we've done.
Yeah, I just don't get it. But we're surely getting to the point at which it doesn't continue, because it isn't working. And we already are a team that struggle for creativity, and that just stifles our right wing, and as you say, our transition as well. I think when he folds into right back, it opens up a world of space for the opposition to just move into our final third really easily. And there are some terrible statistics. I think Florian Wirtz on his own had nearly half as many passes into the final third as the entire Sunderland team did. And I just think we've got to start doing something about that. We've got a pile of wingers, and I can understand the complaint that all of them, apart from Angulo, who in this capacity I thought looked very good, and I think he's going to play a lot, but all of them struggle physically to help defensively. I wonder how much we're missing Traore, because he often sits very high on the right and is an outlet. And he's probably, before the arrival of Angulo, our best defensive winger. I'm sorry, my light is discoing on me here. I've got to get a new bulb. But I might just keep... Yeah, well, good, because it keeps... flashing. Anyway, yeah, it's just I feel down. I'm sure with reflection, I'll look at that and say, do you know what? We're pretty solid. And again, we are. We're clearly a very competent side, but we cannot play this way forever. And this season, fine. But when we're safe, when we've got 40 points, if we ever get there, and next season, we cannot continue to be this passive, this giving the opposition fewer things to worry about. And having such little creativity, and the focus is entirely on defensive shape and not conceding. and the subs come so late in that fashion, because we're only one goal now. I get it; it served us very well to get to this point, but we are struggling lately. Maybe just having Xhaka back shores things up, but we have a lack of physicality in that base of that midfield at the minute, and we have a lack of creativity on the right because we're trying to shore it up with Trey Hume. I guess that's why he plays, and it isn't working. And I think something different, which I wonder if that's what they try at the weekend against Oxford. Who knows?
Yeah, I think we are desperately missing Xhaka. It's very obvious now we're missing him. But I don't know. I'm almost sort of running out of things to say. One thing I would say in terms of a positive though is that, and I was when we were driving home, we were talking about a game, and actually in reality, Liverpool, while they did have a lot of the ball and they hit the post, they didn't actually create a lot, and we were pretty good defensively as a whole. Like we didn't give them a ton. We blocked a lot of shots. Liverpool took some shots from range, but how many clear-cut chances did Liverpool have? The corners, I've not actually seen the goal back. To me, from
they had 15. They had 15 corners. They had 3 shots on target, and missed 3 big chances. But we still had 2 shots on target. Yeah, we still had 2 shots.
What were their 3 big chances? I'm trying to think what the 3 big. They hit the post.
I think So I think Wirtz goes clear once, and then gets caught. By the way, I thought Reinildo was superb for us today.
He was picked up a very silly yellow card though, but he was good.
Although I think I'd have complained like fury if that was me. It was a clear handball from Salah. I don't know whether that's because he's been pulled by Reinildo, but I thought it was a clear handball. Thank Mickey Bickerstaff. Thank you. I think that's I saw you at Brentford. So yeah, I mean I agree. I think we're all a bit frustrated by that, but it isn't his fault. I think the problem with that selection is if you don't play him there, you don't play him, and that seems like wow, he can't play, but he's not our best right back.
What do you make of this comment in here by Tam? So this is kind of contrary to what we're talking about with Trey Hume. So do you think that if we'd went more progressive on the right wing, that we would have potentially have made our problems worse? Do you think maybe we are looking at it too much one way and maybe not thinking about what we're getting defensively from it? Is this a fair argument?
Look, I think you can make this argument. I think you can make that, but I don't think so. I think those spaces where Wirtz is really good is on the counter and in the final third, and Hume is nowhere near those positions. So I think in terms of this particular point, that's an irrelevance. And if you watch the game back, he does it on the counter, on the edge of his own 16-yard box, and on the edge of our 16-yard box. That's where he's most influential in those kinds of positions. And Hume isn't in those positions at that point. He's either taking a free kick out wide or a corner, or he's flooding out of the midfield into right back and giving lots of space to Wirtz or anybody else in that position. And it was noticeable when Ekitike got the ball in the sort of forward left position that he was quite free to if he wasn't marked by Hume being really deep, he was quite free to run inside because of the gap there from us folding into a back five. So I can see the logic of that position. I think it has some merit to question that. But I think in terms of Hume, it's an irrelevance for where Wirtz is doing most of that work. But he was brilliant, Wirtz. I will give you that. And he's going to be some player, I think, when he finds his feet and grows up a bit, gets a bit of experience and a bit of physicality about him. He's going to be a great player.
Yeah. I can now actually see a disco light going on now.
I mentioned it. You didn't notice it before. I need to get a new bulb. I might just persist with playing that bulb there, though, even though it clearly doesn't fit. That's a terrible joke.
We're going to do a preview for Burnley. We're not playing Burnley. We're playing Oxford. We're going to do a preview though for Oxford, but kind of is a little bit of a quick one right now. Yeah, we saw this one before. How many changes do you think need to be made? So I've got somebody's also, I can't remember what the comment was, but somebody said that maybe Diarra's playing too much right now. I don't want us to make whole changes, but can we do similar to what we did against Everton? What was the actual team we played against Everton? Hang on, I'll load that up.
Yeah.
I'm just
Look, I don't know. I think that I think we need good performances. We haven't had any for a while. We haven't won away since the beginning of the Renaissance, and so I think that we need to put out our strongest team. Why not play our strongest team? We should be playing our strongest team against Oxford. If you rotated somebody, I think, rest the niggles. If Sadiqi's tweaked that ankle, rest him. And if Alderete has a knock, then rest him. But other than resting knocks, I'd play my strongest team. And if anything, it is a chance to try and say, well, how do I play if I try to play with a bit more width? And you don't have to play an out-and-out winger. You don't have to play Talby and Gulo from the start. There are options. You can play Lefay on one of those wings, and he can fold inside a bit better. And it's like the opposite side of the Hume coin. The person who you want to fold inside and help the midfield, do you want him to have some creativity in attack, or do you want him to be primarily a defender? And at the minute, Regis is constantly choosing the defensive option because he's super cautious. Keep us in the game. Maybe we'll nick something. But we're just not anymore. We're not nicking games. We're struggling. We're not picking up points. And we have to be trying something different there.
You talk about not picking up points on the road?
Yeah. I mean, we've picked up points against a Crystal Palace team in disarray and a Burnley team who, frankly, on that day probably would have been beaten by half the championship as well. Apart from that, we haven't really. Well, I can't remember the last time we won convincingly against anybody. It's a while, and I know you can say AFCON and Xhaka, but we don't deserve to win either. The way we're playing and our approach to games. Everton, but they had a team of youngsters and second teamers in there as well.
A comment here on my ability as a YouTube comment selector. I apologise for clicking too quickly.
Do you know, I had thought that there was one of these we did a while ago, and I was talking, and you just sort of went through about 5 or 6 of them very quickly.
Yeah, I kind of just flicked them up quickly, but obviously I've read them before I clicked them up, so I think I'm just. I'm not too quick. I apologise for that, guys. I will try my best in the future.
I actually thought Alderete was okay today, unless I've missed something. But I do think Sadiqi was a little bit off the ball. I think he was a bit weak today from his usual high standards. Yeah.
Oh, I'm being called out for bottling, putting up any comments I criticise.
No, you just did.
So I apologise, Peter. What comment is it that I've missed? We can't score or even attack. That's why.
Yep, absolutely.
And that is a problem. And I think we've been pretty, critical-ish of the team tonight.
I tell you what. On this point, I did notice that in the second half, we did take more long shots, and that's been something we just have never done this season. So there were a lot more long shots early doors in that second half. Some of them are a bit absurd. Mukiele did a one from really far, but I can't imagine that that's just because they decided to. I think they must have been told to. But we just have to. We have to have a better mindset towards attacking. We have been a long time now in this keep it tight frame of mind, and it is no longer working. It might work better with Xhaka in there, but we also cannot keep doing this forever. We certainly cannot play the whole of next season doing this. And maybe we just wait until we get there. There we go. Look, disco.
He's going to say full-on disco. Mundell, this is an interesting one because we talked about him recently. No. We talked about it recently, though, and I don't know if forever he's not going to be good enough for the Premier League, but I certainly think he's a player that needs a loan. I think he needs to play regular minutes. I think he's probably been a victim of our success in the sense that if we were in the Championship, I think him and Chris Rigg probably would have played far more and would have played more and maybe got that level. But yeah, I think right now I'm surprised that Mundell is still getting onto the pitch as much as what he is, because I think he is struggling.
Yeah, he's not. He is not currently good enough, and I think when he came on today, it just emphasises the places and the moments that he struggles in. he plays the ball too far ahead of himself sometimes and loses it. So when he tried to put it through to Liverpool players, he was never going round them to collect it. Very early doors, he got the ball into space, and everybody knows he wants to cut inside and shoot it, but he plays the cut inside too far away from him. He never gets the chance. He's closed off. He doesn't often enough. And Patrick Roberts had this problem, last year or the year before. I think with Mowbray, must have been the year before. I can't remember. Where he would always try to cut inside to have a shot on his left, and he was told, "Look, you're going to have to vary it because everybody knows you do that." And I think he's not good enough to get round the outside. And Mundell himself might say, "Well, what's the point? There aren't enough people in the box." I don't think that's entirely true all the time, but I do think he always wants to cut inside and take a shot. He almost never has the chance to do it because you just don't get that kind of time, or the time he needs to do it in the Premier League. And he plays the ball too far away from himself too often that the ball gets taken off him too easily.
I feel like we need a strobe light warning for you here.
Well, I've got another bulb, but it's not it's not a bayonet. It's not a bayonet. And try as I might, I cannot make it play in that position as well as the one I've got.
There you go. There's your second go at that one. Yeah, and just the last few comments before we sign off.
We will do a proper review, though, when we reflect and come back a little bit more positively, I think.
Yes. And 2 wins and 11. Yeah, and this is an interesting point, this one from David, because I was thinking about this earlier in the season, but didn't really want to say it because you're obviously positivity. But if you actually look at Regis when he was at Lorient that season, Lorient had a really good year, and they were like up in the top 5. They did tail off at the end of the season. Last season, we did tail off at the end of the season. So there is maybe an argument here that maybe this is kind of what Regis Lebris teams do. Maybe they do have strong starts and then it tails away towards the end.
Well, I mean, maybe the whole look at a season is a bit like his substitutes. He definitely makes fewer substitutes and later in games than most other managers. And maybe he sticks to systems that perhaps could do with a little bit of a shake-up too long. I think the time has come to try and be a bit more adventurous. 2 wins in 11 against a team half the championship would beat, and a Crystal Palace team falling apart around the ears. I don't think those are things to shout about. And I think we've got to, we're on 36 points. We are not going to get relegated on 36 points. We can surely, when Xhaka's back, and we can surely pick up 4 more points in the next 12 games. But, if this goes on for another 4 or 5 games, I think people start to worry. We just cannot afford to be bottom of the charts for every possible creative metric going, which is what we are. John Parr. I love that, by the way. Man in Motion. It's a classic 80s song. You won't know it, Connor.
I've got no idea what you're talking about.
St Elmo's Fire, Man in Motion. It's a great song.
I'm just agreeing.
Yeah, we play too cautious, too defensive. We're carp in the final third because of the way Lebris sets us up. I mean, I agree. I think that I can sense frustration and annoyance in there. I feel a bit the same, but I think the both of us, John Parr, I think the both of us, with a bit of reflection, will say, look, that was the champions. We're in a great place. Yeah. At least I hope so.
I mean, Daz here, probably calling us out on being a bit negative.
Yeah.
Which is
and
fair.
Do you
know? And I think that this is. I'm seeing obviously a lot of split in the comments as well. Like there's
a lot
of people.
It isn't
one
that
way.
My problem is not the number of chances that Liverpool created, although I think we allow them to create more than usual because we're so passive. My problem is we create so little ourselves, and that is almost, both of those are almost by design. Liverpool had 15 corners. You can't give a team 15 corners and expect to win the game. I think we're lucky that it's only 1-0, frankly. And we just don't create enough. We had Nielsen Angulo as our only real creative outlet on the pitch today in the way we set up. I mean, playing Lefay in that midfield with Siddiqui has nullified the creativity that Lefay is able to offer us at times. There's been none of it because he's been so deep lying quite a lot of the time. So I just think we have to do better here. It's not I'm not complaining that we didn't stop Liverpool chances, but I do think that we set up so passively that we give them more than we might otherwise do. And because we're so passive, we have even fewer. So I think 2 wins in 11 against two very poor sides at that time means that we really have to be thinking differently.
I think though that yes, they were 2 poor sides. We still have to win those games. Like those. I mean, We've seen Brighton lose against Crystal Palace. We've seen Crystal Palace then lose against Burnley tonight. Like I think that to essentially say that those games almost, because they were rubbish opposition, essentially don't count. Well, not that they don't count, but I think that's maybe too far the other way for me.
Well, what was the score? What was the score with Burnley tonight? Was it 4-3 to Burnley? They won 3-2. I think that says everything about those two teams that we beat. But you've still though.
We were 1-0 down against Crystal Palace. Like if you watch that Crystal Palace game, yes, they weren't great, but they weren't. They were still a Premier League level team. I don't know. Yeah. I feel like almost it's because it's so raw right now because we've just lost the game. Yes. It was against Liverpool. I don't know if we're maybe too negative. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
I'm quite happy to reflect on that. I usually do, and I come up with a saner view.
I mean, that is the thing. When you record just after the game at full time, I started this conversation probably more negative, and as we've went on, I've maybe twinged being a bit more sort of positive. I did see though a very interesting comment, which I think is probably what we'll finish on because it is pretty much midnight. Which I think is probably a comment that you can really answer, which is how do you think we play which keeps us defensively sound but allow us to attack with an end result? So I'll say one tiny thing on this and then I'll let you take the floor. I think if you watch the game tonight, Salah was cheating. And I don't mean cheating as in he was being a dirty player. I mean cheating in the sense that he wasn't defensively tracking back. And because we are quite defensive how we set up, we allow him to get away with that because he knows that Liverpool can find numbers with him staying at the top end of the field, and that to me is an issue. Sometimes you can be more more defensive by being slightly more attacking.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think in the preview we looked at the point that Salah doesn't track back. We looked at the point that they would have a weaker right back, and therefore all you had to do in order to try and find space here was to win duels with Gravenberch because he's holding together that right-hand side with whoever they play at right back. And I thought that when I saw Angulo play, I thought, well, okay, that's great. But then you don't have the midfielder with him. You've got Diarra, who is the perfect physical player, well, the best physical midfielder we've got, playing on the other half of the pitch. And I thought that was, I get that he's a much more progressive in the right slot, but I think if you had that triangle of Brobby, Diarra, and Angulo on the left, then we would have had the opportunity to exploit that to maybe make Gravenberch's place a bit difficult. There were times when Brobby dropped to the touchline or into the halfway line or even into our own half, and Konate cannot follow him. And if you can do that with Angulo and Diarra, and then you're past him with physical players, with pace. But we didn't do that. We had, a slightly underperforming Siddiqui, or we had Lefay, who doesn't have the pace to keep up with that kind of play. And it certainly doesn't have the physicality to win duels against Gravenberch. So, yeah, I think we missed a bit of a trick there with the opportunity presented to us on their right field today. And that's how I think you don't have to do very much to compete with them there. And there's no doubt Angulo had a great game.
Yeah, I rated him. I don't know the answer to this because I've only seen it live. I've not seen the highlights back. The goal that they scored, can you address this? I presume you watched it and seen the replays. Is Roofs at fault potentially?
No, not that I noticed. I certainly didn't notice what Danny P is talking about here. I think it's a crowded area. I think it's perhaps a bit suicidal for Roos not to try and come and claim it. But yeah, he's not going to win everything. We're so used to him dominating everything and making every right decision. I think that was the right decision to come for it. He doesn't get there, partly because Van Dijk heads it, just sort of nudges the ball over him. So I don't think it's like that. But I'd have to go back and have a look. But look, 15 corners. If we win all of them, that would be amazing. But we didn't. They get one of them, and yeah.
Well, Steve summed it up nicely. Let's move on to the next. Sunderland playing Oxford. We'll do a. I think we're only doing Are we doing a preview for the Oxford game? But I don't think we're doing another review of this game. Is that correct? I don't know if we have the time.
Maybe we don't. No, because it'll be. Yeah. Well, no, we won't. It'll be Thursday tomorrow.
Yeah.
But we'll be back with propaganda and everything after that.
Yeah, next week. We'll come back with the usual stuff. So Sunday, I don't know if you're around Sunday after the Oxford game. I am.
No, I'm not. I'm with my good friend Sydney Mann. So.
Oh yeah, you're doing quizzes again.
Something like that.
Cool. Well, I will be here on Sunday after the game. You have to deal with my positivity after we go into the FA Cup 5th round.
Whoa, that was my hot take. Remember? So
yeah.
What
Also,
did I say?
AFCON.
Yeah, but I didn't anticipate not having Xhaka. I didn't anticipate. Look, I still think we can be. We've still got 7 of the bottom 10 to play, or no?
Yeah,
something like
that. I don't know.
So we still can be.
I agree. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's a bit raw after the game at full time, so maybe we've been more, I don't know, more negative than what we are. But I promise we still love the lads, and we still have faith that we can see me. What's the word? Me not wearing the Indiana Jones. Yeah, it's you wearing the Indiana Jones costume. So hopefully,
I'd love to be wearing it. That will have been an amazing season if I get to wear it.
Yeah. It absolutely would be. So thanks everyone for watching. We'll catch you very soon for more videos because we just love talking about something.